Hello everybody and welcome back to Space Engine. And this is actually kind of a special episode because this is the first time recording with my new monitor, which is actually a much larger and much better resolution monitor, which I didn't actually pay for because, well, I couldn't. What happened was my brother moved and he got a new TV. It was a complimentary TV, so he gave it to my mother, who had a really nice monitor, so she upgraded that, and I just took her old monitor, and boom, new monitor. Because I needed a new monitor, but I can't afford to get one. So, hey, the universe works out in the end. It's been a little while since my last video, which is unfortunate, and I really should stop apologizing every time my video is late, because people who watch this channel know that there's no set schedule. I just do it whenever I have time. But, I'm Canadian, so I'm kind of duty-bound to apologize, at any time. So, yeah, I can't help it. Anyways, what to do? I wasn't really given any requests to go places, at least not in the last video. I think there might have been some new ones, but if you're gonna tell me to go places, do it on the last video uploaded, so I don't have to go digging through all the videos to look for requests. It's just, yeah. But there's things to talk about, like the organics on Mars, for example. That's pretty exciting. Of course, the news media, doing what they do best, is taking it and using it to make clickbait because, well, it's all about clicks and not actually about giving viable information. Because, like, what was discovered was some organic compounds, like, just underneath the surface, like a few centimeters below the surface, and I think methane was one of the compounds they found. And this isn't necessarily new. Methane was detected by, I think, the Trace Gas Orbiter in orbit a little while ago, but what's exciting about this was they found organics under the surface, like right underneath the surface, which is significant because Mars's soil contains a lot of material known as perchlorates, which actively destroy organic molecules, and it makes the surface kind of like sanitary. So finding organics so close to the surface lends hope to there being organics deeper down, and maybe even evidence of life closer to the surface than we originally thought. Now, organics just mean carbon-based, so things containing carbon. It doesn't necessarily mean life. In fact, even when they say like they find amino acids and proteins, that's kind of cool, but they're actually not terribly hard to find in the universe. Like meteors contain amino acids frequently, and comets, the moons of, actually Pluto and its moon contain tholins, which are complex organics. Titan rains down complex organics. So it's like, it's one of the things that, like, it's interesting regardless, but you have to know the context. So organics on Mars, it's interesting, and it's helping, and it's how they found it and where they found it, that's interesting, but the organics by themselves are fairly par for the course. Now, the interesting thing about methane is it's only really produced either volcanically or biologically, so either or, like if the methane on Mars is from volcanism or from life, it would either one of them would be interesting, because if it's volcanism, that means there's some geological activity on Mars that produces heat, which life could potentially live on. It's an energy source. And if it is just life directly, well, oop, I saw that. That's interesting because it's just life, and life is really cool. So that's really exciting. The context of it is really exciting. But of course people are like, you know, NASA found life on Mars, and it's like, no we didn't. They found evidence of life on Mars. No they didn't. They found organics. Yes. But it's organics. You have to know the context. Like, technically pencil graphite is organic, because it's carbon. Right then, this is a cold desert with life, and it's organic unicellular terrestrial. What kind of atmosphere are we looking at here? It's abiogenic, that's nice. It's organic, haha, so it's carbon-based, just like us. I enjoy being carbon-based. Let's check out the atmosphere. Atmospheric pressure is incredibly thin, so this is a very thin atmosphere. Like, the height of the homogeneous atmosphere is only 19 kilometers. My goodness. Ours is incredibly high. I don't know exactly the height, but, well, it depends. Does the ionosphere count? Because that extends up beyond the space station, so, I don't know. Either way, it's very thin, and it's very cold. Minus 58 degrees Celsius. Ugh. It's mostly carbon dioxide, actually, wait, it's mostly oxygen with carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. Wow. And ammonia. No, wait, no, that's not ammonia. No, wait, it is ammonia. Ah. Cool. That's interesting. I'm gonna land on this planet. Why? Because I want to. No one said I'm not allowed to. Now, there's actually an update for Space Agent coming out soon, and I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah, we can get more stuff. Ooh, look at that! You can see striations in the rock face. You can see the layers. I always like sedimentation. Layers. Speaking of which, I was actually digging in my backyard last week. I'm putting in a fish pond. Like last year, I dug out and finished up an area to make a rock garden, like a Zen garden thing. And it's done. I just have to put in the gravel and the rocks. So it's currently just an empty hole with a border around it and like hardware cloth, or not, what's it called, like garden cloth on the bottom. So it looks complete and neat and tidy, but it doesn't have any rocks in it. But next to it, I'm putting in a fish pond because I've always wanted a fish pond. And so I dug out the fish pond for that, or at least the hole for it. It's quite big. It's quite lovely. It has 3 layers that go down, and it was interesting because while I was digging it, I'm always looking at like what lives in the soil. So I'm looking at like moss and stuff and fungus. But there was some interesting striations in the soil, and I felt like there was a top layer soil, kind of a mid aggregate layer of kind of usually like mud, dirt, and some rocks, and then right below that was the clay layer, and it looks very noticeable. And it was kind of cool. So I think actually I got that finished up. I think I need to put the liner in and the plumbing and all that, which I can't do right now because I can't afford it, but we'll do it later. But I got a tetanus shot out of it though. That's kind of fun. Because like, okay, I've technically you're supposed to get a tetanus shot every 10 years, like a booster, because it only lasts about 10 years or thereabouts. And my last one was in grade 9, so I'm long past 10 years. And I've been meaning to do it this year. I was like, I'll get it done eventually. And so I'm digging in the backyard, and my hand's right up close to the edge of the shovel because I'm sculpting, and I don't notice that the metal part that was connecting the handle to the shovel head was like scraped into my thumb and took off some skin, and I actually got down to like where it was bleeding a little bit, and I was like, oh damn it, because again, a rusty shovel, and even in the soil where the tetanus bacteria lives, or like the bacteria that caused the tetanus reaction. I forget what it's called. It's something bacillus, but it's a bacteria. It isn't the rust, mind you. The bacteria that cause tetanus are found in soil, manure, pretty much anywhere that touches those things. Yeah, so I went, oh, crap. So I washed it out and called a nurse and just asked, like, should I go get a tetanus shot? Because I think I should. And she was like, yeah. It's like, alright, so I went and did that. That was fun. So I got that squared away, so I'm good for 10 years, so I can go back to digging outside without fear. Well, I always fear everything. Usually in dusty soil, I fear aspergillus, which is a fungus that lives there, which I really shouldn't, because aspergillus is only really harmful if you have a compromised immune system, so, which I don't. But hypochondria, it's what I do. Alright, oh, no, don't do that. We have a cold ice world with life, and it's subglacial, unicellular. Fascinating. What do we got going on here? Info. General. There we go. Abiogenic, so it evolved here. Organic, so it's carbon-based. Dwarf planet. Dwarf planet, like, well, like Pluto. And it is a dwarf planet. A dwarf planet is not okay. A dwarf planet is no less a planet than a normal planet. It's just a different type of planet. So if you really do feel bad about Pluto, remember, it's still a planet technically, it's just a different class of planet. Kind of like how a Chihuahua is still a dog, it's just a different class of dog, made up mostly of shivering and attitude. I actually like Chihuahuas personally. I wouldn't own one, but I like them. Kind of like beagles. I like beagles, but I wouldn't own one because they're really, really dumb. Like, if you give them too much food, they'll actually eat themselves to death. And I had a snail that wouldn't do that. So it's like if a mollusk outsmarts your dog, something's wrong there. I actually miss my snail, but my goldfish bullied the crap out of it, and then it died. and I suspect he was responsible, but he won't admit it. He's a fish, so he can't admit it, but looking at the guilt in his eyes, I know he did it. I love my fish. Today's actually been a good day, so I'm in a good mood, so I'm talking a lot more. You can always tell what kind of mood I'm in depending on how I'm talking. Because I don't... Oh, we have aerial life here. Cool. Info. I'm going to say hydrogen, helium. Yep, nitrogen and neon. Very typical. This is like... Is this an ice giant? It's a frozen ice giant, yeah. Like, Neptune and Uranus are frozen ice giants. See, again, an ice giant is still a gas giant. It's a different class of... But it's just a different class of gas giant. So, being an ice giant doesn't make it any less a gas giant. Just like how being a dwarf planet doesn't make you any less a planet. It just means you're a smaller planet in a different kind of position. Cirrus got batted around a lot, because Cirrus was originally a planet, and then it was an asteroid, and then it was upvoted a little bit to dwarf planet status. My cat came in, looked at me, didn't meow, and left. Wow, I'm offended. Actually, Dawn is currently in orbit of Cirrus. It's been there for a while. It's getting really close to the surface, getting some really good pictures back from it. Ooh, and on that note, speaking of pictures, and this also goes back to Mars. Mars is currently under a really heavy dust storm that covers about, I think it was like 1/3 of the planet, or three-fourths. I forget which one. It's a lot of it. Anyways, Curiosity's fine because it's nuclear powered, but it's starting to see some dust build up in its in the atmosphere around it. But the real concern is Opportunity, because Opportunity is solar powered and also very old, and this is a really bad dust storm, and it's like right in the brunt of it, and it's right now, there hasn't been any contact with it since, I think, Sunday, and it's in power fault mode right now, so it's basically just trying to keep itself alive, and I hope it does, because Spirit died because it went through a Martian winter and didn't get enough power to stay warm, and basically its electronics died because of it, which was very sad. So I really hope Opportunity doesn't suffer the same fate. But then again, Opportunity has been, like, it was only supposed to live for 90 days. It's been going for, like, what, 11 or 12 years now? I think it landed in 2004. I can't remember exactly, but it's been going on for much longer than it was supposed to. But I still hope it survives, because it's a little rover that could. This is another little cold ice world, subglacial. Nice. It's a moon. I like moons. Moons are nice. I've kind of taken up the habit of just calling them, like, our moon just Luna, because it's not the only moon. And I kind of like Luna. Actually, I think it has like 3 names. There's like Luna, the sea one, the one where selenite comes from, Celestius or something like that. I forget what it is precisely, because I'm kind of dumb. But it's interesting because you can call it Luna, but an inhabitant of the moon we tend to call selenites, and I blame H.G. Wells for that. So you're basically using 2 different names for the same. Well, I guess it's kind of like how you call Earth Earth. You can call an inhabitant of Earth a Terran or an Earthling. But it's actually but you can also call us Tellurians. Terran, Tellurian, because Terra or Tellus both can mean Earth. I personally prefer Terran. You know, Tellurian does sound pretty cool, but I prefer Terran personally. I use it as frequently as I can. I'll use Terran, because why not? I'm not allowed. Like, nobody says I'm not allowed to. So what's that? It's a nebula. Let's go to this open nebula. Oh, it's a star cluster. I guess RC is a random cluster. Is there a black hole in here? Well, we're gonna find out. I don't know if there is one. No, I don't think there is one. Huh. Well done. And also, I learned the other day, because I always thought to myself, how do we know for sure our position in the galaxy? Like, how do we know we're on the outer edge? Like, I trust astronomers to make that assertion, but I didn't really know how they figured it out. And then until yesterday, I had a Carl Sagan thing on in the background because Carl Sagan's amazing, and he was actually explaining to school children how they determined our position, and it's globular clusters because they cluster around the core of the galaxy, and become more and more sparse the further away from the core you get. And it was by looking at the number of clusters in our location versus in the around the galactic bulge, they were able to determine our distance from the galactic center. And it's like that's actually very concise and makes a lot of sense, and it's actually really cool. I love astronomy. That one might have a black hole in the center. So we're gonna go. Oh yeah, this one I can almost guarantee has a black hole in the center. Oh, yeah. Look at those stars. It's a black hole with all its friends. Well, oh, I think it's less friends and more people that aren't allowed to leave. It's like when you go to like a cocktail party you really don't want to be at, but you can't leave because they won't let you. Or you don't want to be rude, so you can't leave. I've been there. It's not fun. It's kind of weird. I actually do like people. My brother, or the middle one, for some reason he seems to think I have social anxiety, but I do not. People do not bother me at all. Large crowds do, but people do not. So I don't know why he thinks that my anxiety issues are social anxiety. It's like, no, I like people. People are fine. It's certain situations. Ooh. Alright. So we have a black hole. It is black. Kind of a 3D hole. You think about it, a hole in space, it depends. Interstellar made a good point where it's like a wormhole is, we would see like a three-dimensional representation of the fourth-dimensional object in space, so it would be a hole that was a sphere. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense, actually. Actually, Carl Sagan, once again, he did a good conversation, or he did a good talk about the higher dimensions using flatland. It was quite good. I enjoyed it. I love Cosmos, like with Carl Sagan, and even the new one with Neil deGrasse Tyson was really good. And they're making a third season, which is a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. It's great. All right, where to go? I don't know. Let's find a random star and go there. A red supergiant. Let's go there. Because why not? Oh, I do not regret this. Ooh, it looks like pizza. I should make a pizza. I'm actually incredibly hungry right now. But this video is almost over, so I can do that later. It looks kind of like a mask. It's like eyes. It's like an upside down angry face. Actually, wait, can I? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it looks mad. Very grumpy star. How about that? It's beautiful. It even has like hair and a little bit of a chin beard. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it has like Princess Leia earmuffs. Sweet. Actually, let's do some information on this star. Name. That's a great name. But, no planet with life? Unfortunate. Oh, I love Space Engine. It's great. Making more stuff, though. But, we're getting close to ending this video, actually. I need to think of something fun to do before we end. I kind of just, I don't know, talk. It's like, welcome to my podcast. I actually enjoy podcasts, honestly. I like putting on the Adam Savage's, like, the Tested, Still Untitled podcast whenever it comes out. It's fun. Like, it's like when I work, I like having things going on in the background. I like having music or something interesting. And this last week, I've been putting on, what are they called? Panels. There we go. Panels from various science fiction shows, usually Stargate and Star Trek, like with the people talking. And I have them on in the background because I've actually been learning how to do 3D sculpting, like to make character models for video games. And I'm using Sculptress because it's free, and I can afford free. Uh, Ideally, I'd have to use like Maya and Mudbox, which actually a lot of professional games use. And you make a wireframe in Maya, put it in Mudbox, make the model, put it back in Maya, rig it, put it back in Mudbox, texture it, put it back in Maya. But I can't do that because I can't afford Mudbox or Maya. So I went with Sculptris. And Sculptris, the models can't be used in Unity because they're very high poly and they're a file format that can't be used. But I can use them with Blender, and I hate Blender because the learning curve and the hotkeys are really irritating, but I like Blender because it's free. So what I can do is I can make the models in Sculptris, import them into Blender, reduce the poly count in Blender, and then rig it in Blender, and then export it as a file that Unity can use, and then boom, I can animate it in Unity. So it works, and it won't cost me anything. And free is my favorite price tag. Anyways, that's 21 minutes. I'm going to end it there. We're going to stay out here in interstellar space, in the middle of nowhere, because why not? So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will be back with more later. I might do some other videos too. I haven't done Kerbal Space Program in a while. Actually, I need to build a Star Destroyer in a Kerbal Space Program. Actually, I've been meaning to do that for a while. I kind of want to build the Orville, but it has a lot of, but kind of like the Protector. It has a lot of smooth contours that might be hard to make, but we'll see. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and space.